Hello, my name's Helen Tubby. I'm editor of Family Tree. I'm delighted today to be talking to Angela Buckley, who's author of The Baby Farmer's book, but also she's talking on lots of other seedy subjects at the Secret Lives conference later this year. Now, the topics she's talking on are voices from the underworld and life in the seedy streets of Victorian cities, and the rattle of bones, how to uncover skeletons. So these are subjects like when you first get into family history, you think, well, maybe I've got a skeleton in the cupboard. Well, Angela Buckley is the person to talk to about things like this. So how on earth did you get into what really wanted to relish this seamy side of life?
Well, I have to say my fascination with Victorian crime did begin with my own family.
Yeah.
And when I started researching my family history, it wasn't long before the skeletons started tumbling thick and fast out of my own genealogical cupboard. So my ancestors were all poor, both in rural places and in the cities, and many of them broke the law, committing petty crimes such as theft, poaching, swearing on the highway is another good one, and drunkenness and disorderly behaviour.
So with your ancestors, with their background, presumably you could completely understand why it was hard for them. And so you probably, did you find it quite engaging because you could really feel for them in their lives, and that encouraged you to research more?
Absolutely. It made me feel very fortunate, actually, because many of them ended up in the workhouse. And my first experience as a family historian was going to a graveyard where 3 generations of my family had gone into a pauper's grave.
Yeah.
So it did make me feel very fortunate that I'd been able to have, survived, that I was here, that I'd been able to have an education. So it did very much inspire me to find out more, and also to bring their voices back, today, because those voices get lost because they didn't do great things. So they're often not recorded anywhere. So it's a chance to give them, breathe a little more life back into them.
That is one of the most important things of family history, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is there one particular branch or one particular story or ancestor that you found that particularly struck a chord with you, or in your wider research, you're not necessarily in your own family tree? Like, what sort of thing have you found out? What sort of person's life?
I think my most nefarious ancestor was quite an exciting find, and it was a shock really to uncover it. So I'm from Manchester, and I was exploring my family roots in my home city, and I was looking into the life of my 3 times great-grandfather, John Dawson, and he was a Victorian wheeler and dealer, lived in the slums at the heart of Manchester's Victorian Underworld. And when I looked on the 1861 census, it said that he was a beer seller, coal and beer seller. But over the entry for his occupation, the enumerator had scribbled in tiny writing, keeps a house of infamous notoriety.
Yeah.
And so that really launched me into crime, really finding out all about his crimes. And he was sentenced 3 times for keeping a disorderly house.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a very nice character, but I'll be sharing some of his stories from his case at the conference.
So what would you recommend to somebody else if they think that they have criminal ancestors or underworld ancestors? How would you recommend that they go about tackling it?
Well, there will be people will have criminal ancestors, and also people who lived in the slums or in the underworld who didn't break the law as well. So it's good to find out as much as you can about the background of where they lived, whatever they ended up doing. And I often try to find the as many primary sources as possible. So look at background reading would include social commentators. So for London, people like Henry Mayhew or Charles Dickens. Manchester, you've got Engels. Then have a look at the old newspapers, see if you can find out any stories. And they might have been victims of crime, not always just perpetrators. And of course the court records often carry an awful lot of detail with them, witness depositions. So you have to go on a trail, you have to turn detective, find the clues and link them all up and see what you find out.
And what are you looking forward to from attending the conference, like listening to other delegates and other conference speakers at the show?
I'm really looking forward to finding out some new aspects of family history, because none of us have covered it all. So I think there'll be lots of very unusual, quirky snippets and quite intriguing bits of information that hopefully will lead me to take my family history further. And I'm also looking forward to meeting other family historians and sharing stories of our shady ancestors.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Angela.